If you all thought that my last few videos were polarizing, then you ain't seen nothing yet. Hello, Sisters! My name is Alex, and welcome back to What If I Made Ash Ketchum's Pokemon Teams. This time, as promised, we're heading into the mountainous Sinnoh region, formerly known as Hisui. Just gonna point this out right now, there's no question arguing that this is one of Ash's strongest teams. However, that doesn't mean that every catch was perfect. As always for this series, I'll go over the Pokemon on Ash's team that I'm getting rid of, and then going over ones that I'll add or slightly change here and there. Also, I'll add on to future Pokemon if necessary, as seen with the last couple of videos. But before we begin, I have a very small favor to ask of you guys. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and comment down below. And above all, please subscribe for more content. That will really help the channel grow and do a lot more stuff like this. Also, if you have any changes that you would make to Ash's roster, please let me know in the comments down below. But bear in mind to keep it respectful. Don't call me a moron or anything, because that doesn't solve anything. Okay? Okay, so what better place to start with than the one that we're getting rid of? And it pains me to say it, but we're going to be getting rid of Gligar turned Gliscor. Now, it pains me because Gliscor is one of my favorite Pokemon. I love how he looks, the coverage he can get, but with Ash's team, yeah, not so much, I'm afraid. Now, much like a lot of other Pokemon that Ash caught up until this point, Gliscor was a comic relief Pokemon. But with Dawn's Piplup, I don't think Gliscor's addition was necessary as that kind of character. Additionally, it didn't have a whole lot of battles. Like, the main ones I can think of are against Bastiodon, against Abomasnow, or somewhere in this ice gym, and against the Caesar, along with Paul's Drapion, and if I recall correctly, he lost a bunch of them. Not to mention, Ash already had a solid ground type and a solid flying type, so Gliscor just added a bit too much type overlap. Again, I still love Gliscor, but I think there's a better Pokemon that Ash could have caught for this team, so... Now, on to the main team. As per usual, we'll begin with the starters. In Sinnoh, Ash managed to catch 2 starters for completely different reasons. The first of which was Turtwig. And yes, I am still keeping Turtwig and eventually evolving him into a Torterra, just hear me out first. Looking at the other available grass types in Sinnoh, none of them really work well with Ash. Badoo, Roserade, Roselia, like, they don't really scream Ash. Carnivine, that was James's Pokemon. Cherubi and Cherim, I don't think so. Leafeon was already owned by one of Dawn's friends, and Ash already had an evolution at home. Snover, I didn't really see him catching it, so... And other than Turtwig, the only one is Burmy and Wormadam. So to all the Torterra haters out there, there's literally no other grass Pokemon that can work well with Ash, and I have a new storyline for why he keeps it, as well as rectifying something I forgot to mention in my Hoenn video. Okay, now, much of Turtwig's history stays the same, from when Ash first encountered it, to learning Synthesis, to being the one Pokemon to take on a Rampardos with Flamethrower. And yes, during the battle with Paul's Honchkrow, he does evolve into Grotle. Paul's Torterra would also help him try to adapt to his new body, but in my timeline, Grotle just can't get his head around this new form. Therefore, Ash calls on some old friends so that way he can help Grotle regain his speed. And this is where I would like to rectify Camerupt from my Hoenn video. See, because of Camerupt's mental instability at the time of the Hoenn League, Ash spends a lot of time training with him. Among that training is speed training, so he can get Camerupt back to how he used to move as a Numel. Now in Sinnoh, Ash does the exact same thing, but he brings back Camerupt to help him out. Now that Grotle is back up to speed, he participates in a lot more matches and wins. He still has some losses, but that's a part of growing. Particularly, he goes up against Bastiodon and manages to tank a few hits before leaving it to Chimchar. But the process repeats itself once Garly evolves into Torterra. This time though, it takes a little longer because it's been so long since his change in body weight, so he has to get reacquainted with his exercise routine. And there you have it, a better way for Torterra to be on the team and not get rid of Ash's Fire Water Grass chain along with the added ground coverage. Hey, Torterra haters, you're welcome by the way. Now onto the second starter, it's Chimchar. Really, with Chimchar, not a lot changes with him. He still belongs to Paul at the beginning, gets released after Paul battles Cynthia, and Ash takes him in. He still has a hard time with his Blaze ability, but that'll get resolved over time. And of course, he does evolve into Monferno during the battle at Lake Ecruteak, where he's Ash's final Pokemon, manages to take down Paul's Ursaring, and has a standoff against Paul's Electabuzz. During the final gym battle with Volkner, Infernape has full control over his Blaze ability, and uses it to perfect effect. After the Sinnoh League, Ash's Infernape would help his other fire Pokemon harness their Blaze abilities, if they had it in the first place. And Charizard would not only be his best student, but also his greatest rival. Side note, yes, Charizard will be coming back, but we'll have to wait until I eventually tackle Ash's Unova team. Now, as promised from my Hoenn video, I'll be talking about Aipom for a bit. Aipom would sneak on board the ship that Ash would take to Sinnoh and would participate in a few battles. Most notably in his first battle against Paul during his 2 matches with Rourke, the first gym leader in Sinnoh, and of course against Gardenia. Not too long into their adventures, Dawn would catch an aggressive Buizel. Eventually, Dawn would get Buizel to listen to her, but that's as far as their relationship would go. So, you guys know where this is going, right? Aipom realizes that it likes contests more than battles, and Buizel likes battling more than performing. So, in a smart play by Ash, he and Dawn trade Aipom and Buizel respectively. From there, Ash still has a little bit to work with Buizel, but it's nothing too serious. But still, a lot of things about Buizel would stay the same, such as he's the only one on Ash's team to not evolve. Now, some of you are probably saying, wait, what? Why would you do that and evolve Corphish and stuff like that? Well, it doesn't really matter in this case because Buizel and Floatzel are both pure water types. The reason that I evolved Squirtle was because I thought that he deserved at least one chance to evolve. Feraligatr would have been an amazing regional variant of Charizard, and since the Hoenn region has its fair share of psychic attacks, I thought a dark type for Ash's team would help add some resistance to it. Buizel has not only shown seriousness when it comes to battle, but also capable of handling Pokemon severely out of his weight class. And of course, I gotta talk about the Ice Aqua Jet, that is badass, you cannot tell me otherwise. Now for the very first Pokemon that Ash ever caught in Sinnoh, Starly. If you thought I was gonna get rid of one of the best regional birds that Ash ever got, then you'd be wrong. Starly would start out much the same way as he did in the anime, evolving after he got his wing injured in a rock valley, and evolving into Staravia well before Ash even battled Rourke. Much like the anime, Staravia would participate in a bunch of gym battles and would act as the recon scout for Ash's team. And of course, it evolved the same way in the anime during the Poké-Ringer competition. Thanks to knowing close combat and Brave Bird, Staraptor would be used in a lot more battles and would have a purpose outside of the Sinnoh League. When Ash comes back to Palatown for a while before the events of Black and White, Staraptor in the meantime actually helps train his other bird Pokemon. He would also help any future bird Pokemon that Ash would catch, but we'll save that when we get there. Okay, so some of you are probably thinking by now, okay, well, who replaces Gliscor on the team? And the answer is Sneasel. Just hear me out for a sec before you bring out your pitchforks and torches. So, Ash's 7th gym match was in Snowpoint City, and after he wins, he stays in there for a bit. But while he's there, he also learns about a nuisance that's been going around the city as of late. Nobody knows who or what it is, but it's been aggressive to both humans and Pokemon alike. Ash decides to help the people out because that's kinda how he is, And while he does this, he figures out that it's a female Sneasel with scars on her cheeks. Ash decides to battle the Sneasel, and, well, the Sneasel is more than happy to oblige. The battle is with Sneasel and Chimchar. Chimchar puts up a massive fight, and Sneasel is incredibly powerful for what she is. But since this is the Pokemon anime, a Team Rocket scandal is of course about to happen. Chimchar and Sneasel put their differences aside to fight the common enemy, but Sneasel is badly wounded. After Team Rocket has been defeated, Ash escorts Sneasel back to the Pokemon Center where she can heal up. Sneasel then has a little bit of a Charmeleon reference here where she's confused as to why this human is helping her because she did try to harm him earlier. Eventually though, after she's all healed up, she kinda grows a liking to Ash and wishes to join his team, which Ash is more than happy to do so. But wait, there's a twist with this Sneasel. So, you know how Paul has always been trying to get the strongest Pokemon that he possibly can, and among them was a Weavile? Well, in my timeline, Paul's Weavile was actually the leader of a pack. The same pack that Ash's Sneasel was a part of. See, Ash's Sneasel is considered the runt of its group, and as such, it was seen as the weakest and was thrown out. Since then, she hasn't exactly been the kindest to human or Pokemon. And this is seen in the Lake Ecruteak battle when Ash and Paul bring out their respective ice types. Sneasel is boiling mad, like she's about to burst. And because of that, Sneasel is defeated. While she may have seen and grown a lot in terms of combat skills and moves, Weavile is in a whole nother class compared to her. But don't worry, Monferno would still be her sparring partner to help her train. Eventually though, sometime before the Battle of the Lilies, Ash managed to find a Razor Claw. And during a nighttime adventure trying to test their bonds, Sneasel accidentally touched the Razor Claw and evolved into Weavile. As a Weavile though, not a whole lot changes except now she has a resolve to keep her friends and loved ones safe. And yes, she does see all of her teammates as family. Oh, and let's not forget, Ice Shard is a priority move, so Weavile can help in that regard. Now, before moving on, I wanted to mention a few Pokemon that Ash brought back for the region. Let's start with Rhydon. Really, he's here to help Grotle with his speed training, but he does have a bit of a character moment during the battle with the Frontier Brain that has a Dragonite. He sends in his Rhyperior and Ash sends in Rhydon. Ash loses the match and he's given a chance to have Rhydon be trained by him. But Rhydon ultimately refuses as he has family and friends to get back to. Remember, he's a friendly giant, so of course he misses his friends and family. Next is Cyndaquil, which would eventually evolve into Quilava. Upon evolution, Quilava would learn the move Eruption, which would give him a lot more firepower to work with. And much like a lot of fire types, he would train under Infernape after the Sinnoh League to harness his Blaze ability. And just to get this one out of the way, no, I am not going to give Ash Hippopotas/Hippowdon. Because if I did that, it would be a Grotle/Torterra thing all over again. And yes, I will admit I could have done the same story beats for Grotle/Torterra, but there is a difference, and that would be the fire, water, grass chain that he goes with for most of the regions. As I mentioned earlier, there's not a lot of grass Pokemon that fit well with Ash in this region aside from the Turtwig line, so I really didn't have a choice. It's okay that he befriended those two Pokemon, but actually catching them, that wasn't the point of those episodes, so kind of a moot argument in my opinion. Alright, now on to the final Pokemon that Ash caught for this region. And in case you haven't guessed, yes, it is Gible. Now, Gible is where I have a hard time trying to figure out if I should evolve him or not. And that's A, because of how late Ash catches him in his adventure, and you know? I may as well just save that bit for another video. Stay tuned. And there you have it, the new team for Ash's Sinnoh adventure. Full transparency, I expect all of you to hate this team. Prior to Kalos, this was one of Ash's strongest teams to date, with a lot of strong Pokemon. You may not like some of the choices I made, but this is my team. You can make your own in the comments down below, but this time I'm up in the ante. If this video can reach 50 likes, then I'll be going into Ash's Unova team, and trust me, I've been wanting to share that one for a good while now. But with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, reach for the stars.